Still waiting in line? Again? That's time you will never get back. Save time and money with Stamps.com. Over 4 million businesses have skipped the line with Stamps.com. Join them to save up to 90% off carrier rates from your computer or phone right now. Print postage for certified mail, registered mail, and packages in seconds. Then schedule a pickup right from your home or office. For a limited time, go to Stamps.com and use code PODCAST for a free welcome gift. Taxes and fees apply.
Here, and we've got kind of a unique setup this time. For this episode is actually going to be 2 episodes. There were 2 conversations, each around an hour long, and I just thought it best, instead of going for 2 hours, which I've been known to do that in the past, I just decided that it would be a good idea to break this up into 2 parts, since that's the way the conversation come down. And what I'm talking about is my conversation with Debbie Simmonds and Bob Schaffner. And Debbie is the widow of the late great Kim Simmonds. Of course, he was the founder and only leader of Savoy Brown. And Savoy Brown, some of the former band members over the years have gone on to form their own bands or to work with other big name bands. 3 of the band members left and went and formed Foghat, believe it or not. Others have gone on to bands like Fleetwood Mac and Black Sabbath, and on and on and on. But Savoy Brown was always the blues man's blues band. And shortly before Kim Simmonds died a couple years ago, he completed his autobiography titled, as you can see behind me here, Street Corner Talking, the Autobiography of Kim Simmonds. He had completed it, was all ready to submit it to a publisher when he passed away. And Debbie, after a period of grieving, she took the book, and with the help of Bob Schaffner, they got this book published. And here's how well written that book is. Kim wrote it. Debbie didn't make any changes at all, and believe it or not, when it was submitted to the publisher, and publishers are notorious for making lots of changes in books, much to authors' chagrin, the publisher didn't change it either. So what you see as 100% Kim Simmonds' words when you get this book, and I encourage you to get the book. You can get it wherever you buy books. I'll have a link on the website where you can buy it, or you can go directly to savoybrown.com and order it through them as well. As always, I ask that you like the interview, or if you do, hit the like button. That's all you need to do. If you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button. It's not going to cost you a dime, but it helps us out tremendously. And if you have other blues lovers in your circle of influence, family members, anybody like that, or even more specifically, people who are Savoy Brown fans, please share this and part 2 of this interview with them, and ask them to like and subscribe as well. So without any further ado, here is part 1 of a 2-part interview with Debbie Simmonds and Bob Schaffner. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care.
Hello, Debbie. My friend.
How you doing? Hey,
Good,
Bob.
how are you doing?
Hi, Randy. Nice to meet you.
Likewise. Despite how I look, I'm doing pretty good. As you know, Debbie, I'm newly married, and my wife asked me if she could get a pair of shoes, and I said no. There you go. That's all I'm saying. I'm kidding, of course.
I know that's not the real story.
Yeah, yes, you do.
Congratulations, Randy.
Well,
yes,
thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm a month and a half in, and I think it might work out. So, but no,
a good sign.
To explain my ugliness here, I had to have Mohs surgery last week. Now, I thought it was just going to be a one and done thing, right? Quick scrape, because it was just such a small little thing on my nose.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. They went 3 times in to get it. And I was in that chair for 5.5 hours. And
Oh
Oh my
my
goodness.
my
gosh.
my my butt hurt more than my face did, but
Well, that's
anyway,
good.
it's yeah, I guess. I don't know what looks better though is the thing, but yeah, I mean, and so I did an intro for my interview that's going to post tomorrow with Kenny Wayne Shepherd, and I just decided, you know what, I can't hide this. I'm not going to, if you have a Band-Aid all over it, it's just going to be as distracting as Scarface here. So I'm just going to roll with it and make a public service announcement about the importance of sunscreen and seeing your dermatologist. So here we are. So
There you go. There you go.
I'm glad it all worked out okay for you, Randy.
Thank you. I think it will. I mean, it looks. They say it's going to heal up really good. I won't look like Elvis anymore, but So
I don't think
Small
you look
price
like
to pay.
Costello at all.
Yeah, well,
That was a good one.
maybe I need those big glasses like he wears. Well, Bob, I can tell already you and I could be best friends because I love what's behind you there, man. Not only Kim's album cover, but all the albums that you have there. I bet we could talk for hours about just what you have in there alone.
It used to be about 3 times that amount, but I got divorced a long time ago, so
Yeah,
lost half my record collection.
Oh, Lord. By having to sell, or did she claim half of it?
She claimed half of it, then she sold it all.
Oh, gosh.
So, long time ago.
I went through one of those 12 and a half years ago. It's not fun. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But
actually, it's the only time she cried is when we divided up the records.
because of what she didn't get?
Yeah, she really wanted the Badfinger albums, and I was like, no, those are mine.
That was a hill worth dying on, wasn't it? So
yeah, it was. It was.
Well, I am thrilled to be able to talk to you guys. By the way, Bob, when Debbie told me about your book, I ordered it. I've got it here. And
thank you. That's awesome.
I'd like to set up a time after we're all done with this. I'll drop you a note and we'll get something set up to talk about that book because I think it'd be
all right. We'll get Jeff
fun
on.
one
He's
to talk
80.
about.
He's 88 years young.
Who is?
Jeff, the guy who took all the photos.
Really? Wow. Well, I noticed you had a Marshall Chess forward there too. I got to talk to him. I think it was last year or a year before.
He's a treat.
Fascinating guy. Yeah, he is.
You just put a nickel in and let him go.
Boy, isn't that the truth? I think I had a penny and I got 2 hours worth. So
there you go.
Debbie,
nice guy. He's a nice guy.
And a wealth of information too. But I noticed the painting behind you. If I'm not mistaken, that's one of Kim's, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
How many paintings did he do that you still have?
Oh, he was prolific, Randy. He was prolific. I have a lot, but not all guitars. So he did a lot of landscapes. He did abstracts. He just loved the whole medium. So he was great about, expanding his horizons, and he just loved to paint.
If I recall correctly, the last time I talked to him, I interviewed him twice, and he was talking about his paintings then. The second time I interviewed him was, I think we were in the middle of the pandemic, and I was dragged, kept kicking and screaming to this Zoom thing, and because back then I didn't have all this, but I still didn't want my face out there. But it actually makes it a lot easier to do interviews, and I think people enjoy them as long as I keep the attention on the people I'm interviewing. I think everybody's happy at that point. But
wonderful.
We were both just kind of getting used to it all, and I remember he bragged on you for taking care of the PR aspect of things because you had the album back behind him and all that. And since then, I got to talk with Garnett and Pat.
Good. Wonderful.
Garnett was about when the Blues All Around album came out, and so we talked about that in support of that.
Right.
And then after that, I interviewed him and Pat along with our mutual friend Sean Chambers. And so
Oh,
we had a
Oh,
fun
wonderful.
chat with that. And I love Sean, man. He's a great one. I think he's so vastly underappreciated as a blues artist, and I hope he
Yes,
can get a lot more traction, a lot more following, because he definitely deserves it in my book.
he
well, we
does. And
we actually put him in touch with somebody recently, Debbie and I, at an event
Ah,
we had for Debbie in the autobiography of Kim Simmonds. Uh, he's now in touch with Michael Freeman, a friend of mine who's a blues producer, and
ah,
they've been talking. And he's been in the blue. I think he's got 75 albums under his belt.
my goodness.
So hopefully something will come from that.
Yeah, but I, for somebody as great as Sean is, he just seems to be contained in Florida, which, I guess a blues artist can make a great living in Florida, but so many artists go down there.
yeah,
But,
yeah.
the rest of the country wants to see him too, so.
Well, he recently got a new agent. So we're very excited about that because
Very good.
it looks to me like they're going to do great things for him. And that's what it's all about. You need an agent to pound the pavement, so to speak,
Yep.
And he's coming up here. He's coming to New York at the end of the month. So we're excited about that. We'll get to see him again. And he's such a great guy, too.
Yeah,
You
he
know,
is. Yeah, he is. He and
such
his
a
wife
great guy.
both.
A friend of mine, when he got into Reggie's and he saw Sean from a distance, he thought he was seeing Gary Moore,
Yeah, I never thought of that, but you're
right?
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
There are some similarities there from a distance,
Yep.
and some stage mannerisms there too.
Yeah.
But
Not a
wow,
bad
Yeah.
way to be.
no, I, I've been called a lot worse. I mean, so, but but yeah, this book, I am so intrigued by it all because my limited experience with interviewing Kim. I interviewed him twice. First time was over the phone, and so I didn't do the Zoom thing then, but because that was about, I think, 8 years before my last interview with him. So that would have
Oh,
put him. I
okay.
think it was around 2012 or so when I first interviewed him. I
Okay.
should have written that down, but second time was 2020, and so I think you were working on the book by then.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was already sick and all that. So
Yeah.
you guys, you know, I know you've been through a lot of these interviews, so you probably have this down pat. Hopefully, we can hit a couple things from a little bit different angle, just to have something that's new, so that's fun for you too. But
Sure.
how did this
Yeah.
whole thing come about? I know that he had been writing for quite a while, and by the way, the book is beautifully written. I think it's a
Oh,
very good.
thank you.
I, Not all autobiographies are. Let me just put it that way.
Oh,
Very
But
true.
thank you, Randy. Yeah, thank you for
so how
that.
did it all come about?
He thought he had a story worth telling. I mean, that was really it. And he was the type of person who couldn't sit still. He had to be doing something. He had to be playing guitar or writing a song or painting or writing. He wrote poetry. He had to be doing something all the time. And he was he wrote little blurbs for the website now and again. He'd write a little update or something. And he was such a good writer, and he was such, and forgive me, this is your territory, but I always thought of him as a great interviewee. you know,
Mm-hmm.
he just,
Mm-hmm.
because he loved to talk and he had so many stories to tell. And so every interview was a little different, because he would talk about his different experiences, over 50 plus years of being a musician, and starting in London, of all places, in the 60s. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Than being a blues musician in London in the 60s and coming up with all the other fantastic talent. But I think
Yep.
he thought he had a story to tell, and he wasn't in any hurry to write it. So he really took his time. It was a matter of years. He did it over a matter of years. And I think and the biggest compliment I've gotten from people, and more than one person has said this to me, is that they felt like he was talking to them. It was
Exactly.
like they could hear his voice in the book. And I
Yeah.
just love that. I love that.
I think that's the secret to keeping people engaged. I've been told that about my interviews. People feel like they're sitting in the living room with whoever I'm
Yes.
talking with and getting the
Yes.
eavesdrop in. And I think people love that, and they find that. I think authors find that much more successful, and they feel
Yes.
much more successful if they get that kind of reaction. What did I'm going to be jumping around. Believe me, I wrote a ton of questions. I'm not. There's no way we're going to get to them all, and I feel a little ADD about it. Just I want to jump here, I want to jump there. So hopefully, I'll be a little more mature than that. But what did he express at all? How if the process of writing the book was cathartic for him in any way?
Yes. Oh, for sure. I think it was. Yeah, because he talked about things in the book that he didn't really talk about a lot. His childhood, he
Mm-hmm.
didn't really talk about that a lot.
Matter of fact, if I interrupt, Roger Earl mentioned reading the book, and he said, "I didn't know he played football."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. He
Roger was
really,
with him a couple years, wasn't he?
Yeah,
yeah.
quite a few
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
And they remained
Yeah.
in touch, and that's something that Roger didn't know. So Roger learned something from the book.
Yeah, that's true, Bob. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, he had so many great things to say, and and he wasn't a a bragger. He didn't name drop. And I think, Bob, you said that about him right from the beginning, and people would always say how humble he was and unassuming, and you would never know by talking to him or speaking with him the history that he had and the career that he had, because he just wasn't that kind of guy. He was like, oh, I'm a guitar player,
Matter of fact,
and it
with
was like,
interviews, the interview that I did with him a couple times over the phone, we talked for hours, and he kept saying, "This isn't going in the book, is it?"
Well, hold it.
Because
Who was he talking about when he asked that?
we were just talking about the blues, and just
Yeah.
uh, for the Whitmack book about Peter Green and that era, and we took sidetracks and asked him who his favorite guitarists were, and just on and on and on and on. And I actually stayed with Kim back in 1973. A friend of mine, Paul Hamer, told Kim that of Hamer Guitars, um, that two friends of his were coming over, and would he meet us? And he picked us up, and we went to his apartment, and I fixed his stereo, and we talked music. And as Debbie's heard me say, and I've been blessed to know a lot of musicians and famous people. He was too nice for the music business. He was just a super, super nice man. And he also stayed the course from 1965 until the very end. He was a blues guitarist. He didn't stray. He didn't do country western. He didn't do this.
Right.
He stayed with the blues. And that takes a lot of gumption.
Yeah, it does. And I one thing something you said, Bob, and I find this with artists that not all artists, but many, is that they underestimate the interest in and the value of a lot of parts of their story. And it's not always just about music. It's sometimes about the stick to itiveness about in order to succeed or at least survive in
Mm-hmm.
the business. And the encouragement that people can derive from that kind of story, or maybe they feel like they're experiencing something that the artist says, "Hey, I've experienced this too," and I'm I'm curious if either of you have heard anything from. I mean, you've mentioned Roger already, and were there other artists that came back to you and said, you know, I remember this time, or this meant so much to me, this part of Kim's story. Were there any things like that that have come out since the book's come out so
That,
far?
no, I can't. Yeah, not really. They haven't contacted me directly, but just, what a great guy he was. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that was the overriding thing, and they loved his story. And the reviews have been fantastic, thank God. And he would be so thrilled with that. He would be so
You're
happy about that.
and when it came out at the end of January, it was number one on Amazon for a number of weeks, and it's still in the top 100. And as of today, and it's been out 2 months, basically 2.5 months. You already have 40 reviews on Amazon. So if anybody's watching this and bought the book, even wherever you bought it, please review it on Amazon. Tell us what you think.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll do that too.
Oh,
That
thank you.
what Bob, from your perspective, I mean, like you said, you probably know more artists better than I do. I know a handful, and we would know each other if we bumped into each other on the street. But for the most part, I'm just a goofy interviewer and a fan that gets to talk to artists and when no one else gets to type of things. But from your perspective, from everybody you've interviewed and all the people you've talked to, 2 points. One is, how was Kim different than the other artists you've interacted with? And secondly, how has this book been different than any of the other kind of tomes, either that you may have been directly involved in or maybe just for your own benefit of reading? Where do you feel this book stands out from those?
I'll answer the second question first. We were talking about the writing, and publishing is a lot different than recording, as Debbie has found out. um, but it has to be said, when a book goes to the publisher, it is usually, if it's approved, it goes to the editor, and the editor takes the words, changes things around, goes with the author, in this case Debbie, and says, "Is this okay?" and stuff. That never happened.
Wow.
Every word in that book is Kim's. The editor touched some of the grammar and maybe a punctuation, but the words, I mean, and that has to be said because I've been associated with 3 books now, and possibly 3 or 4 more coming out, and that doesn't happen. An
Right.
editor always, changes something around or goes, "Hey, this chapter should go there." It's 100% Kim, and that's unbelievable. Um, and as far as interviewing go, I mean, Kim was very, very open about his saga, as it were, in the music business. And as Debbie said, unlike a lot of rock stars, he didn't drop names. He stayed on his course. I mean, you think about it. What other person, when half of your band decides to leave and form a band that's more successful than your original band, and you're okay with that? That takes a special person.
It
And I'm
does.
talking about Foghat.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, that's something else. I don't know how to explain it. I'm lost for words because, when you're an artist, whether you're a ballerina or you're an author or you're a musician or a quarterback, you're an entertainer.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, and that's probably why I don't do sports, because what's the difference between a quarterback and Kim Simmonds? They're both entertainers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the amount of money that a musician makes now is obscene. Um, you know, whether you're Bono or Randy or Debbie, you make 0.001 cent on a stream.
Yeah.
So you have to make 5,000 streams of one song to make the equivalent of just buying a CD for the artist. And that's why I do what I do, because these rock stars, as it were, or these people in music have to be documented because we're losing them.
Yeah. Well, that's why I do what I do. It's boomerocity. It's the essence of being a baby boomer. The osity is the essence. And I honestly, I thought I would be in and out in a year because nobody'd be interested. But yeah, I had 25 interviews the first year, and
Wow.
people wanted to hear what these people had to say. And I think that they're still relevant. Some of the people shouldn't be on the road right now, in all honesty. And I'm not going to name names, but let's face it, some of the voices are gone. Some of the
Yep.
energy is gone. But that's who they are and that's what they want to
Yeah.
do. And I think what you
Exactly. Yeah.
touched on, without going too deep in it, you touched on something that I think Kim exhibited that I think needs to pretty much permeate through the legacy portion of the entertainment business, and that is, you know, exhibiting love through forgiveness and genuine gratitude and graciousness. Um, I
Well said.
interviewed Graham Nash last week, and we touched on he and David Crosby, you know, on the path to making amends and mending the fences before David died. And I asked him, I said, what would you tell some of these other bands, some of these other artists who are still, towards each other and
Yeah.
suing each other and all that? And some people are still not getting it. Just, let it go. Really let go. I lost my dad 8 months ago, 7 or 8 months
I'm
ago.
sorry.
And he was
Sorry.
89. The last 2 years of his life, he was, suffering from dementia. And it struck on me watching the TV program. I'm not making this about me, but I'm making a point here that, my dad was absent a lot of my life, not because he was away from home. He was working second and third shift. So I didn't get
Right.
that same kind of relationship. He didn't come to my ball games. He didn't come to my school plays. But I knew he loved me.
Right.
And I had the privilege of being his caregiver the last 2 years of his life. And I learned so much more. And, I got to develop all these memories. And could I have been bitter for whatever reason? Yeah, but why? There's no
Yeah.
reason to be. And I think Kim showed that with what you just said, Bob. And that is, let it go, let things work out. And I can cheer their success
Hmm.
and know that I, at least at the very bit, if I didn't have a small part of that, at least I can point to those people and say they're my friends
I
instead
Right.
think
of they
it
rip
takes a
me
special
off.
it takes a
It
special
does.
person too, because whether what in the entertainment business, you have to have some sort of ego. Otherwise, you're going to get up on stage or act, and you're going to go, yeah, you kind of suck. So you
Yeah.
have to have some sort of ego, but when you step off stage, or you're doing a book tour or something, you know, take it down.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
you're not on stage anymore. Um, but if when you're on stage, you have to have an ego. Otherwise, you're going to come across that you're not very good. And
Is
it
it
takes a
ego
very,
or is it ego or is it confidence? Because
I think it's
sometimes I
both.
think I agree. I agree.
It's
You have
both.
to be confident. It's ego fed and vice versa. But a healthy ego is not bad.
Correct.
And that's the ones who think. I'm sure you've talked to them too, Bob, and Debbie. I'm sure you've met more than one where, in talking to them, I would think, dude, get over yourself. And I hope I never betrayed that in the look on my face or in any of my questions. But I'm kind of like, I'm not worshiping you, so just forget it. you know
Now, I was told to me by Paul Hamer's partner once. He's like, you know what? They put their pants on just like you do.
hmm
And
That's right.
we've Debbie and I have, I'm sure both have had run-ins with people with egos that are not checked.
Yeah, yeah.
But Kim
Debbie,
was
what
not one of those people.
you mentioned what Roger said about the book, but for you, was there anything that you could point to in the book where when you first heard it? Well, let me rephrase it. Was there anything in the book that you didn't know about or hear about until Kim started writing it and you read it? And well, let's answer that question first because I got another one about Kim that I want to ask on
I've
that.
had this question a couple times, and I have to say that I wasn't really surprised by anything in the book. There wasn't anything that I was like, oh, I didn't know that. He would talk to me about things I think that he didn't talk to other people about. I mean, we were together, over 30 years. So
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that there was anything really that I didn't really know about, but I just thought, I was so proud of him for telling the stories and getting it out there because part of it was very painful for him, and it takes a lot of courage, I think, to present that to everyone on paper, and let them read it and take it in. And, even though they might not understand the significance of it, his childhood, for example, or his relationship with his brother. Um, but he put it out there, and for
If I may,
everybody
I think
to,
if I may put some words in Debbie's mouth, I think what Debbie was surprised about is about what we talked about before, about how the publisher didn't touch anything.
well, yeah, that's true. And also, I should say that my name is on the book because it had to be.
Right?
For legal reasons. It had to be on there, but which also leads people to think that I edited the book or added to it or did some writing in the book. I did not. I, this is every single word that's in the book came from Kim. Was written
But
by
what
Kim. He wrote the
I
entire thing.
would I would say though that, and I don't understand all the legal reasons why you had to, but I think it should have been legal or not. But I think you deserve it, and I'm not saying this to patronize you, but I think you deserve as much credit for the success of what the editors didn't do, because as Kim's wife and as the one who took the book and wanted to see it through its completion, you could have very easily injected yourself into that and edited the heck out of it and changed some things and done. I mean, it's
Oh,
done. I know it's done by those left behind, but you didn't. And I saw that at the end of the book where you said, "Hey, this is what you read is pretty much Kim.
yeah,
I didn't change
yeah,
anything." And I thought, "Wow,
right,
that's amazing.
right.
That's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing."
No, I wouldn't have done that. I wanted him to be proud of the book. I know he is. I know he's proud of it, and he's so thrilled that it's been published, and that was very important to him. So, our dear friend Bob's and my dear friend Tony Bullard and I were on a mission to get this book published, and we have another dear friend John Shelmet who was instrumental in. He was Kim's very close friend, and Kim would send him the chapters, and so they would discuss it, and John also would edit, punctuation or spellings or things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
we had a little bit of help and a little bit of a push behind the scenes, so to speak, because Tony was determined to get this book published, and it was a huge help for me because, like Bob said, the music world and the publishing world are two different things. And
Yes, they
not that
are.
I'm terribly well versed in the music world, but I know more about that than I know about getting a book published. So I was ready and willing to take all the help I could get, and I was very lucky that I had Bob in my corner and Tony and John. So it was a team effort.
Nice. The second question I almost made it into all one question. But did Kim ever express that, to you? And I'm not wanting to dig into overly personal things, but did he ever say, "Wow, this, writing about X, Y, or Z, in essence, was very cathartic for me"? And did he ever express anything about maybe being a bit surprised that sharing any particular story was cathartic for him?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I do think so. I think that he was happy to get it out, because we carry so much as human beings, and I think maybe even more so in the artist aspect. Artists are very sensitive, and they're in tune with so many different things, and it's hard to carry everything. And so I think that was really a relief for him to get it out, and to be able to look at it on paper. And I think, for the few people who were able to get a sneak peek, so to speak, and who were helping in the process, I think it it wasn't like, no one was shocked. No one was shocked about anything that he put in the book. It was always like, that's awesome, that's a cool story, and it's really great that you're able to get it out, and get it on paper, and hopefully get it in print. I think he was proud.
What's your perception of that, Bob?
I I was very lucky to be part of it. When Tony called Debbie because of the Fleetwood Mac book, because of the interview with Kim in that book, he asked Debbie if she knew Jeff Lowenthal and Robert Schaffner and if they were still alive. Because Debbie was in the throes of it, so it didn't dawn on her to contact me because we knew each other from a concert and friends on Facebook, and the rest is history. I'm just tickled pink to be part of it. And that we had an event at Reggie's in Chicago to celebrate it. Of course, unfortunately, I was sick and couldn't go to my event. We had Sean and the boys there. Um, and it was a packed house. It was almost sold out. Debbie sold almost every book that she brought. It also has to be said that paintings like the one behind Debbie's shoulder there, if you go on the Savoy Brown website, you can purchase a Kim Simmonds painting. Um, and that's something that Kim was, that not all an artist. He wrote songs, he wrote lyrics, he sang, he played guitar, he painted. That's an artist. Um,
Yes.
and I hate to say it again, he just was a super nice guy. I mean, who would do this? I know it was in the 70s, but to hear from a friend, an acquaintance, to say, hey, these two people that you don't know are going to come to, Croydon, England. And by the way, could you pick them up? Not only
Hey,
only did he
Mick,
pick
could
us,
you do that for me?
yeah, not only did he pick us up, he brought us to his apartment. We had lunch, we talked, we stayed there. I fixed his stereo. Most musicians I know don't know how to do a stereo at all, which is, I think, amusing. It's like
All right,
Nick Lowe said.
I gotta hear that story. I know it's been referenced, but I never heard the complete story about you fixing Kim's stereo. Share that with
Okay,
everybody.
okay. Well, he knew probably from Paul Hamer that I was in the audio business. I was in the consumer electronics business for over 40
Uh,
years. Um, so when we got there, we were listening to music. We had a cup of tea. He put on the stereo and he asked me why it sounded so bad. So I flipped his speakers around and there were no backs on them. If you have no
so the
backs on the
bass was going out
speakers,
the back. Yeah.
yeah, it
Okay.
just disperses. So we put some things on the back of his speakers and he's like, wow, this sounds a lot better. Who knows how long it had been that way, right?
Right.
But I think
That's
that's true with a
funny.
lot of musicians. Like Nick Lowe said, if you want to mix an album, go into your car stereo and put it on AM and mix it for that speaker. Because if
Yeah,
it sounds
true.
good there, it's going to sound fantastic anywhere else.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and that's something that I said before that, if you look at a Jimmy Page who started in the blues, then he went on to rock and roll and stuff like that. And so many guitarists started out in a genre. And that's fine. They go off in different angles and stuff. But
Hmm.
Kim stayed true to a blues man. And that's, like Buddy Guy said, if it wasn't for people like Kim Simmonds and Peter Green and Jimmy Page and Jeff Beck, the blues, which is an American music, right, would have
Hmm.
died in America if it wasn't
Yeah,
for those guys in the 60s.
absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
and, Kim was at the forefront. He started it in 1965. Matter of fact, one of the stories he told me was they were practicing, I think it was at Nag's Head, Debbie, and somebody walked by and thought they were listening to Muddy Waters, which was a great compliment for Kim.
Yes, yes.
Very much so.
Yeah, at the same time, even though he stayed a blues truist or purist, he seemed, I mean, it appeared to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but he also embraced change or, progression in the industry as far as how to get a record made, how to get it out there, or am I misunderstanding it?
I think that's true. He made almost 50 records. So he was very prolific in songwriting. He used to say, I know how to write a song. I don't need help writing a song. I know how to write a song. And he was right. I mean, he was incredibly talented in that area. He knew what notes to play and he knew the lyrics that he wanted, and I think
He
it
also
was
had a great
just,
ear,
yeah, great ear. Yeah.
great ear.
And of course he had to be adaptive because he had so many personnel changes.
Yeah.
That's not easy. So, but he knew what he wanted. He
Hmm.
always knew what he wanted, and there was always someone willing to, you know, make that record or, help him get to where he needed to be. He knew everybody and everybody knew him. And so he was very fortunate in that area. And, he just had so much to give. He had so much to give.
Matter of fact, on the new Foghat album, Sonic Mojo, there's 3 Kim Simmonds songs.
Yes.
I'll be darned. Wow. That I didn't
Yes.
realize that, and I need to track down Roger again because it's been a few years since or a couple years since I talked to him. But that, I mean, what a testament to Kim that is. That like you said, Bob, half the band leaves and go and form a group that's more successful, and then they, now three of Kim's songs on their albums. I mean that.
Yeah.
I hope that shows that area that the benefits and the gift of grace and forgiveness,
And
and
friendship.
just yeah,
Yep.
exactly, exactly.
Yes. Yes. He and
So
Roger were very dear friends, and they remained that way. Their Kim's whole life, which was wonderful. And he had written 4 songs for them because they were going to do this new album, and Kim had been talking to Roger and talking to Roger's wife Linda, and she said, do you have anything? And he said, sure. And he wrote the 4 songs, and after he passed, she came to me and she said, now what does this mean? And I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, I have these 4 songs. And I said, they're yours. Those were yours. Those were for Foghat. I mean, those were not for Kim Simmonds. Those were Foghat songs. And she was so happy, and Roger was so happy. And they actually put 3 of them on the record, which was a beautiful tribute, you know.
yes, definitely. Was there anything about the music business that Kim looked at and let's take it from two angles. He looked at it and go, wow, this is really cool. I love how this industry is changing and going this direction or adapting this whatever. And then on the other side of that coin, did he look at it and go, man, I really don't like how this is looking for the industry or for the artist or anything like that? Did he ever express any of that to either of you?
Not to me.
Yes. I I will tell you, and I've said this a million times, the music business is not for wussies. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a tough business. It's very hard. It's very hard to get a record made. It's very hard to promote that material. It's just a very difficult business, and you
And it's
have
a hard life too,
it's
Debbie.
a hard
Yes, it
life, and you
is.
have 100 people on your tail all the time. I mean, everybody who doesn't want to be a musician, who doesn't want that life? And he never took that for granted. He was always very grateful that he had that life. And but it's very difficult, and I think it becomes more difficult all the time. We were so lucky that we had a wonderful partner in Bruce Cordo and Cordo Valley Records, and
Mhm.
they did the last three albums, I think. And Bruce could see the vision and became a very dear friend of Kim's and of mine, and of Savoy Brown, and now and Sean Chambers, and
Mhm.
Pat and Garnet. So he was very instrumental, but it's very, very difficult to.
And Debbie, I would think, since you've been doing it for several decades, you've seen it get more and more
More
difficult.
and more difficult. Yes. Yes.
Well, the thing
It's
I've
changed a lot.
and the labels, I mean, even to what surprised me today is how many people I know, because of what I do, they think I can help them with their glorified cover band or whatever. I've got a cousin that's very, very good, and I'm thinking, man, he's chosen a path that is very, it's not going to be easy no matter how good you are. But people get this false notion. You sign a record contract and it's like, all right, where's my jet? That kind of thing. And that kind of goes back to the whole 70s era, when things got big and boisterous
Right.
and flamboyant and extravagant. But I don't think people realize, and I try to say it in different ways: buy the CD, buy the merch, go to the shows. That's how these people make their living. Don't
Right.
steal,
Thank
you
you.
know. And
Thank
but
you.
but it's, I mean, if we want these guys around, I mean, let's face it, from a fan perspective, I'm not a musician. We want to see the people we like succeed. If it,
Right.
you talked about sports earlier, they don't care if some pitcher signs up and gets $100 million over 3 years. They really don't think, hey, I've got to now pay an exorbitant amount to get a ticket to go watch a game or
Mm-hmm.
sign up for certain streaming services to see it on TV and pay
Right.
a lot of money for it. They don't see that aspect of it, but that's, let's not confuse things with the facts here. So we want to see the people be successful and enjoy their success, but we don't always realize what that entails at a fan level.
Right.
And so,
Also with music over the period of time, and I'll be a little negative, I guess, but honest. I would bet that 60%, 70% of the musicians at the Grammy Awards don't even know how to play a musical instrument.
I agree.
And that's what happens to music now is, I mean, I won't name names, but we can whisper and be a huge rock and roll vocalist. Huh?
Yeah,
And
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 auto tune is an amazing thing, isn't it?
I was just
Yes.
gonna say, thanks for taking the words out of my mouth.
Yes.
That people can't sing because, you go in a studio, I can make you sound good. But back in the 60s and 70s, I mean, like the Fleetwood Mac in Chicago, not to go on an exit ramp, but that was done in one day,
Yeah.
17 tracks. That doesn't happen anymore. I mean, Synchronicity took 3 years and like $1.2 million to produce. Really?
And the last Guns N' Roses album, all of that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I
It's
And
mean,
I
I
think,
think that's how music has changed to me is that they're not musicians. They're marketers and computer experts in a lot of cases.
right.
Um, and when you talk about the blues category, like you said, you just did Kenny Wayne Shepherd stuff. I mean, that's music. That's computers are not doing that. There's
that's
no
right.
drum machine. There's no, there might be auto tune. I don't know, but there's real drums. There's real guitars. There's there's real instruments being played.
Debbie,
Right.
you were going to say something.
I was going to say that I think, Bob, that was the norm back then. It was one take,
Yeah,
Mhm.
it
maybe
was
two.
expensive.
It was
Yeah,
expensive. Yeah, nobody had any money, and studio time even at that time was very expensive.
Right.
Randy, thank you, because Bob will tell you I get on my soapbox, and that's one thing I always try to include in the interviews is please go see live music.
yeah,
Please buy the CD, please buy the t-shirt. It means so much to musicians. It allows them to do what they love to do and you
Right.
love to see and you love to hear. So go
especially
buy
especially the
go buy
artists
a
that are
ticket.
not, especially the artists who are not under contract, because they actually get to keep some of the proceeds. It may be hard earned, but your bigger artists are that are under a label. They're on these. I hate it, and I'm not even a musician, but under these 360 deals where no matter what they do or where they turn, the label's in their pockets, and they're
Right.
it makes it much more difficult for them to make a true living, and they're sure not getting the exorbitant advances that were legendary in the 70s. So it's and I think the nice thing about the legacy acts is that if there is a bright side to not having a contract and that type of thing, is that they do get the margins there that they otherwise would not have gotten. Um,
Right. Right.
and I think on the surface, streaming, I know it's a dirty word. Unfortunately, I think from a consumer standpoint, we kind of view it as all right. That's taken the place of radio, and that is true to a point. So if the more radio play something got, the artist made their pennies.
Right.
The bad part of it is it's replacing purchasing,
Right.
because
Right.
it's not so
That's
much that
right.
it's being streamed, it's that you can stream on demand. That took the place of the fun of going to a record store,
Yeah.
which when a new record came out, man, it was an event. And you couldn't wait to get it home and take that cellophane off and put the disc on the turntable and open up and read the liner notes and they're
Right.
on there and that's who produced, all that fun stuff. I still love doing it. I need
Yeah.
glasses to do it, or a magnifying glass, but I still love doing it. So
Right.
And you know what?
Right.
To your point, vinyl sales are up
yeah,
because I
yeah,
think the 20 and 30-year-olds are realizing that, oh, yeah, I can stream it, but you know what? It sounds kind of crappy.
yeah, true,
So,
very
go
true.
ahead
Yeah.
and stream it. And if you like it, go buy it.
There
Right.
you go.
Right.
That's what I hope people do, and what I love doing. I'm in a different office right now, but my other office, my main office, the ceiling is lined with autographed albums. And
Oh, wow.
and unfortunately, I never got one signed by Kim. But
Oh.
what's fun is, as a
Debbie will
fan,
sign one for you.
there you go. I want you to sign my book. But what I think is fun is when you get that album and then you go to the show, and artists are a bit more accessible now, not all of them. And, fortunately for me, because of what I do, sometimes I get to go backstage and meet people, and I get that album signed. And for me, that's, I don't consider myself a journalist, and I know I'm not a musician. I'm just a fan that gets to talk with these people, and
Yeah,
to get that
that's cool.
autograph, I mean, that's whether it's on an album or on a book. I've got quite a signed book collection. Either way, there's just that connection. I think that signature represents, and people can do that a lot better with an album than they can with a CD. But whatever they want to buy, please buy is my
Yeah,
message.
please
And
buy it. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of times you'll get to chat with the artists. Foghat will almost always do a meet and greet at the end of the show, where they'll come out and they'll sign. And it's very cool. And Kim always loved to hear the stories because so many people had stories. And it was just great, when he would remember so many of the shows that they were talking about. And,
oh,
you
froze
should.
up there. Yeah. What's the Was there ever a story about an event with a fan that Kim liked to reflect on and mentioned multiple times?
I think there were so many people that he touched, and so many people, even at the book signing, I had people telling me about, the first time they saw him and, and they got to talk to him and they got to talk to him maybe 3 or 4 times. And that was the highlight for them. I mean, they're still talking about it, 40 years later, which is
Right.
amazing, So there was never really one incident. And I think all of the encounters really touched him because it meant so much to him. It was so meaningful to hear
About
their
Debbie, how
stories.
about the cruise that Tony told me about? That I forgot the people that were on the cruise, but they wanted um, Kim to play, and Kim was like, those guys are famous. They don't want me up on stage. And it was a Blue Oyster Cult, and some other people were
Oh, the
playing on the cruise.
the Doobie Brothers.
Doobie Brothers.
The
Yeah,
Doobie
there you go.
Brothers, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
we were on a cruise with the Doobie Brothers and they had said, why don't you come up to play? And he was like, no, 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 I don't want to step on anybody's toes. And they said, no, we'd like you to come up. We really would like you to come, please come. So he finally did, but he did that a lot. He did it with Johnny Winter. Johnny Winter wanted him to play one time, and he was very reluctant to go up because he felt like he was taking the spotlight away from Johnny, which he wasn't.
Right.
John Mayall, he did it with John Mayall. John Mayall wanted him to come up, and he was reluctant, and yeah, because he just thought,
oh,
you
that
know,
says a lot about the person, I think. Personally,
yeah,
that's
Yes.
why I brought it up.
yeah,
Well, that I wasn't going to ask this, but I will, and hopefully I won't regret it. But from my perspective, there seemed to be some similarities between Kim and John Mayall, and they had band members that went on and you know
yeah.
did their own thing, and both being Brits, and you know rough and tumble life and all that kind of stuff, and playing right up to the end. Um, is that a fair perception or accurate perception?
I think so. I think Kim would say he was not in the same league with John Mayall.
Of course he
He thought,
would.
yeah, he would. He would say, I mean, no, he's, you know, the Godfather. I mean,
Right.
that's not
I
who I
think
am.
I think
But
that's a really interesting comparison, Randy. I think that's true to form.
yeah, we did a little tour in Hawaii with John. Kim went solo, and I was there, and John brought his band, and it was it was just so much fun, and John was tough. John was John was tough. he he was a little he was a little hard to get close to, and but by probably the second show, I think he was he was great. He was invited Kim on stage, and he and I would sit together, and it was great. But yeah, I don't think, but I understand what you're saying, because John had tons of personnel
Hmm.
changes, and stayed so true to himself. And yeah, he
Isn't
was
it came on record in the Guinness Book of World Records or something with
he
changes in
was
bands?
at one time. I don't think he's still there, but yes, at one time he did have the most band members,
It's
band member
Wednesday.
changes.
It's Wednesday. Who's new today, right? So,
Right.
what
People would come and,
what
it was a revolving door, people would come and go, and he'd be like, okay, move on.
well, the my John Mayall story. I interviewed him one time. This was close to 10 years ago, I guess. And right after the interview, he was going to be hitting Knoxville, Tennessee, which is close to where I'm often at. And so I went to the show and went with my date at the time and my cousin and his wife. And it just very quietly, there is a small venue, the Bijou Theater there holds 600-700 people is all. But he is out in this cramped lobby at the merch table. And here's this, no disrespect to him, but this old man right there. And, he's very gracious. He was handling the merch. And I went up and I introduced myself as, hey, I'm Randy Patterson. We just spoke a few weeks ago. And it was almost like he didn't want me around. And I didn't take offense to it, because I interpret it as meaning, don't interfere with my time with the fans. Never mind, I was approaching him as a fan, but he saw me as that dirty word journalist that I don't like. And I thought, okay, fair enough. But then I thought, all right, I want to step away and I want to snap a picture of him. I did get a picture of him. But what happened, and what I wanted to tell you, is he caught it just as I was getting ready to snap it. He saw me and he turned. And I thought, okay, you don't want your picture taken. And I thought, you know what? Who am I to judge on that? Because, yeah, as a fan, I was disappointed. But good Lord, how often did you guys get bothered? And I think that's a fair word, when really you just wanted to be left alone. But I thought in this case, dude, you're at your own show. Can I take a picture? Yeah. But I at least go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, he could be a little curmudgeonly.
But it was a fun interview. That's what surprised me. It was a great interview, and we got along great and all that. So I didn't anticipate the air about him at the time, but he put on a great show. And
Yeah.
he was,
You know what? But you know what, Randy? At the time, he was working,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
and
Well,
that's
and
a
he was
different
selling
mindset,
merch.
right? It's a
Yeah,
different
he was
mindset
at the
than
merch table. Yeah.
when you're in an interview. So, I mean, I've a local Chicago blues man here. I mean, I've been friends with him, and I've gone to his venue, and he's like, "Hey, when you see me there, I'm in work mode," which
It's
was
true.
his way of saying, "Hey, if I don't spend time with you or talk to you, that's why."
Interesting. So you're in Chicago, right?
Outside of Chicago, yeah.
Okay, all right. And Debbie, you're in Connecticut, correct?
I'm in New York.
Oh, New York. Okay,
New
all
York.
right.
He
I'm
couldn't afford
normally
Connecticut.
I'm normally in the Smoky Mountains way down south, but right now I'm over in Anderson, South Carolina. But I think that's one thing that I feel like our fans don't understand, and I sometimes am embarrassed when I forget this lesson, and that is, artists are humans. They you probably are not going to ask them a question they've never heard before.
Yeah.
Your story about what their music means to you is probably going to fall in one of a few categories. Show some respect. Just take
Yeah.
it if you're. And artists, I wish I could hold a seminar on artists, is like, and they probably already know this, but look, I know we can be a pain in the butt, but you might be the only celebrity I ever meet, you know. And for a lot of my friends, that's the case. And there's one artist in particular who I became pretty good friends with, but he was quite obnoxious and horribly egotistical and very opinionated on his politics, and he thought everybody was coming to hang on every word of wisdom he chose to put forth. And you know, I warned this friend of mine. He goes, "Hey, do you think he would accept my friend request on Facebook?" I said, "Yeah, but be careful what you hope for." And sure enough, it was
Right.
a couple months, and that artist just slammed him. And I felt like saying, "Look, man, they're a fan. You just ruined your image to
That's
them.
right. That's
Man, get
right.
over yourself." And that's what I loved about Kim. Gracious, just very
Truly.
open, very friendly. I went back and watched some of the interview I did on Zoom, and I caught myself smiling just like it was when I was talking to him, because
Oh,
it's just like, how fun, how great this, you know, I want to go have coffee with him, you know.
yeah, yeah. And he would do that, you know. I mean, really. I mean, we'd get a show over and done with, and we'd be back at the hotel, and I'd say, what a great night. And he'd say, it was, wasn't it? It was a great night.
What's
And I
the
would be
big
like,
thing?
it's awesome.
What's the big thing? And we'll wrap up here, but what's the big thing about Kim that you feel people don't know, and that in more detail they'll learn about in the book, but in a synopsis form? What do you think that is that people don't know about Kim that they will get out of this book?
I think two things, really. I think that a lot of people don't know the history and don't know the experiences that he had and all of the artists that he, jammed with or, did tours with. I think that will be a really nice surprise for a lot of people. And I think the other thing, and I don't know, maybe this is just me, but he was such a homebody. He was truly a family man. And when he wasn't working, he wanted to be home. We
Okay.
didn't go to restaurants, we didn't go out to see artists. We really didn't see a lot of shows or anything. He wanted to be home. He loved to, we have a home studio, so he would be out in the studio. He played guitar every single day. Every
Mm.
single day. He would do something with the guitar. He'd be writing songs, he'd be working in the garden. He loved to cook. He was a great Indian cook. He loved
Ah.
Indian food. And yeah, I miss that very much, his cooking. Yeah, I think that there are a few things that he was a very well-rounded individual. He was just a bit, but I think he thought of himself as just a regular guy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and isn't that special,
Special.
Yeah, yeah. Isn't that a wonderful thing?
I hope people gain from this book that people realize that Kim Simmonds was in the forefront of the blues category in the 60s just as much as Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, Peter Green, and Jeff Beck. Um, there's one guitarist on everybody's list that's number one, and Kim jammed with him, Mr. Hendrix. So, I mean, I hope people get from this book that realize that Kim Simmonds was a consummate bluesman and he was there in the inception.
Yes,
Very cool.
I agree
Now,
with that, Bob.
when I post this will be on the website and YouTube channel, and the audio will be on all the major podcast platforms. But when I post this on the website, the way I typically do is I get the book cover embedded on the site, and I link to where people, I say click on the image below to get your own copy of whatever.
Wonderful.
which location, if for me to embed the link, would do you the most good from proceeds? And I don't have a problem putting it that way. What makes you the most money link wise? I mean, we all know Amazon doesn't pay very well, but it's an outlet.
Right.
But it would
But
it
that
be
would be the
better to,
website to go to, and that's why I mentioned reviewing, because the more reviews that Amazon gets, I don't understand algorithms, and I don't think Debbie does either, but
No,
it helps immensely. Reviews, whether you
okay,
bought it there or not. I mean, you can buy it virtually anywhere in the world now. It was released
including the
worldwide.
Savoy Brown website.
Yeah, there you go.
okay.
Uh, so
Amazon probably, or the Savoy Brown website.
that would, yeah, I
Okay.
agree.
Both of those. Yeah. Both of those.
Now, are there any special packages that you're offering with the book that, oh, and I wanted to ask you something about the painting too, but is there a special package that you're doing through the website with the book, or is it they can buy there, or they, or
Yeah, I
Amazon or
mean, just,
wherever?
yeah, we're just selling the book. We have merchandise on the website as well. There are, CDs and t-shirts and things of
And
that nature,
paintings.
but and
Yeah.
some paintings,
Well,
yes, yes.
that's what I
And
want to get back to, and that's, I mean, I hope that you're doing maybe some limited edition prints that maybe numbered or something, so that once you sell the original, if you sell it, that it's not forever out. That maybe others can buy, a print or
you're
something
right.
on there. Does
You're
that
right,
happen?
Randy. Yes. And I really, I've been talking to, we have an artist that handles the guitar paintings. And that's on the website as well, Jim Saravolo. And I need to speak with Jim about doing a limited
Just that, yeah.
edition
I think that'd be
prints. Yeah,
great.
that would be a great idea. That would really
Yeah.
be a great idea. So I really do need to speak with him about that.
I haven't
Yeah,
looked at
but
the pricing lately, but I'm sure I can't afford it original. But if the prints come out, I would love to have one hanging in my
that's a great
office for that.
idea.
So,
Yeah,
That's
that's a
a
good
great
idea.
idea.
but
Well, it's a work in
what's
progress.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, yes.
So what happens from here for you guys? What else is coming up in the promotion of the book, and what's next for you project wise?
Well, we
Um,
just had an interview
yeah, you
with
can.
Andrew Walton from New Zealand
Ah,
um, just the other week, and there might be a couple more interviews on the horizon. And as far as that goes, I don't know what else Debbie's got in store. I have a couple other books coming out.
Bob's a busy guy.
I
All these musicians are coming to me, which is I'm very blessed that this is happening.
good. Yeah,
And like I
I'm.
said,
Go ahead. I'm
the
sorry.
Kim Simmonds book is just I'm so grateful to be part of it because you know in my memory in 1973 I have just a very clear memory and a great memory of meeting and being with Kim and then seeing him again, what, 40 years, 50 years later, Debbie?
Yeah, yeah, I know, Bob. And the
Very
one
good.
thing I do want to say is that there were so many people at the book signing who said, I just loved him, and I want people to know that as much as you loved him, he loved you too. He did. And he never took that for granted, that he was so appreciative that you spent your hard-earned money to come see him and maybe buy the CD or buy a t-shirt. And I don't want, I want people to know that he was very grateful.
Well, this may come as a shock to you, but I hardly touched my questions that I had, and I had a ton. So,
We should
a
talk
whole bunch.
again.
Yeah,
Well,
we can do part two.
Part two.
let's do that, and maybe my face will look better then, and then, I, I, or maybe I'll wear a bag over my head. But I've been told I needed one of those my entire life. So,
It's the old adage, you have a face for radio.
That's right. That's right. And one that only my mom could love. And sometimes I wondered. No.
We won't go
Well,
there.
yeah. Well, the doctor slapped the wrong end. But I feel like Rodney Dangerfield now. I better hang it up. But hey, Debbie, I'll reach out to you to get Bob's email address. And Bob, I'll be contacting you to do
Very
an
good.
interview to talk about this Fleetwood Mac book and
Great, thank
your
you.
other work and such. And we'll all be staying in touch with each other.
That would be
love how
wonderful, Randy.
I love
Thank
how
you,
we
Randy.
vibe here, So
That would
anyway,
be wonderful.
thank you.
Thank you, and
and-
congratulations too, Randy.
Well, thank you. It's
Many
I
blessed
can
years
say-
ahead. Thanks again, Randy.
Yes,
My
thank you
pleasure.
so much. Thank you.
The pleasure was all mine, and we'll be talking again soon.
Okay.
Sounds
All
good.
right, it's a deal.
All right.
Thank you.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Thank
This
you.
has been another fun-filled episode of Boomerocity with your host and producer, Randy Patterson. The theme song for Boomerocity is Roll the Dice and is recorded and used by permission from Quentin Hope. Quentin is spelled Quinten, and Hope is Hop as in Paul, E. And you can find out more about Quentin Hope and his music at quintenhope.com. Post-production is done by Cardinal Sins Productions. The Boomerocity name, logo, and content is copyright protected. Segments may only be used with written permission by Boomerocity and or its assignees. Inquiries should be directed to input@boomerocity.com. Copyright 2026.